Olivia Newman's career has included First Match, Chicago Fire, FBI, and the hit feature Where the Crawdads Sing. The latest project is the Apple TV Plus limited series, The Last Thing He Told Me. You directed the first 2 episodes and the finale. A great show. I really very much enjoyed this. I guess what was your take on the material in the beginning? Obviously based on this very popular book. So I guess how did you kind of want to approach what you were going to do visually with this story?
So it all starts with Laura Dave's novel, which I read and then read the scripts. And it's interesting because the novel is told entirely from Hannah's point of view, the main character that Jen Garner plays. But it's this sort of page turner mystery, and Hannah is really relying on her memories of this person that she loved, things that he said that, in the moment might have felt like nothing. And now looking back, there's sort of hints to, who he, what he may have been hiding. The great thing about the adaptation to series is that Laura was able to expand upon the book and allow you to kind of go into the points of views of other characters, which was really fun, but still use memory as sort of the anchor for solving this mystery of what happened to, why the husband disappears. And we got more of Bailey in it as well. And so, when you read the book, when you read the scripts, it's a mystery, and it sort of leans into thriller as the series progresses, but really it's a true mystery. And it's set in San Francisco. So of course, the first thing you think of is all this wonderful Hitchcockian, San Francisco based mysteries. No one does it better. And Fincher drawing from Hitchcock. And so we looked at Michael McDonough, my wonderful DP, and I, we sort of looked at those examples and sort of 70s thrillers to sort of, build a language around it. We wanted to always have this sense that these people were not safe and they were being watched. So there's this voyeuristic language and lensing on Hannah and Bailey throughout, even before they realize the trouble that they're in. So, in the pilot, even, before before her world's been upside down, you have this sense that somebody is watching and tracking them. And after Owen disappears, that it just keeps getting heightened and heightened until they are in fact, heading right into a collision course of danger.
Yeah, I definitely was hiding my eyes at certain points because you do ratchet up the tension incredibly well, I think, at times. So I'm always like this, like, oh no, I can't watch this. The finale you also directed, like I said, I think the finale is so great. It ends, or there's a big scene, maybe not the very end, but there's this big scene between Hannah, like you said, played by Jen Garner, and then Nicholas, who's played by David Morris. It totally is. I just love that sequence so much. I think it's it's unexpected, I would say, for like a thriller, right? Because maybe you're expecting, more like actual like fireworks or whatever it is, or violence or whatever, but it's just this conversation between these two characters. And I found it incredibly fascinating. And I think his character, David Morse's character, is like really complicated and complex. And I just love that sequence. And I guess how did you kind of like think about that climax of their, relationship and approach, that scene, I guess?
Yes. I mean, and I don't know if I have to worry about spoilers or not.
I don't think so, because the show's out and we could say spoiler warning, obviously, if people have not watched it, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because as the mystery, Hannah's sort of like, following this trail of clues as to why her husband disappeared. And, the further down the road she gets, the closer she gets to danger, as she realizes that her husband was once involved with a lawyer for the mob, his ex-father-in-law, and that the people that he worked for are very, very dangerous and very violent. And so you sort of expect in a traditional thriller, you expect that there's going to be some kind of shootout or real violent scene. But that's really not what this story is about. The story is about family, and what you're willing to do for your family and the sacrifices that you have to make to protect your family. And I think that this whole journey that Hannah is on is also for her a discovery of what it means to be a parent. You know, she has taken on this stepdaughter without ever having parented anybody, and is in fact somebody who did not have a mother raise her. And so it's, it's this wonderfully climactic scene where these two people are sort of going toe to toe, debating the question of, what is best for a child, and how do we how do we find a compromise here that allows this child to live the best life she can be? And it's the common ground that they both share, is that they both care about what's best for this child, despite all of the other, the anger and all the differences, and the sacrifice that Hannah has to make, which is giving up ever being with the love of her life again. What I love about the character of Nicholas is that he is, of course, he's this terrifying figure. He holds an enormous amount of power. He can make anything happen, but David Morse's portrayal of Nicholas is so understated. It's so quietly scary. When I was thinking about that, it was the half the episode was this scene in his office. And we had this great big room, and it was this very imposing room. The walls were painted such a dark green, they almost look black. And it was about how does he manipulate her by playing with this space, by standing over, how do we use the height difference, the way he kind of hovers over her and then, pulls away from her. And he's constantly playing this game with her, as if to make her feel like she doesn't have any say or control, when in fact, he's the one who needs something from her. So it was this really fun for me when blocking that scene and sort of finding it with the actors. It was really about playing with that power dynamic, and who was, when was each character kind of taking control. My favorite moment, in the script and to play was when Hannah realizes that she can hold a mirror up to Nicholas, when she can say, I actually think you and my husband are a lot alike. And of course, that's the moment where he loses it, because the last person he ever wants to be compared to is the guy who ruined his life. But it was almost like staging a play, because we just had this one space to work with. And it was this, beautifully written, but many, many pages of script to get through.
It's so great. I love this scene so much. You mentioned this one part too, that I was like, I was tearing up watching it, and even now thinking about it, it's like, it's so the moment, like when Hannah has to make that sacrifice, it's the way Jen performed. I think it's such an incredible performance on her part. And I guess, like, obviously Jennifer Garner is an incredible actress, so I'm sure it's not like, it's shocking that she would be able to just really crush that moment. But I guess, like, for you as a director, like, how did you talk to her about that performance or aspect? And obviously that's in the finale, so she's played this character for a while and been with it, but yeah, like, I just found that moment is really great, and like it's a great moment in a great scene. And I guess, like, yeah, how did you kind of like talk about that with her?
Yeah, it's, we did a lot of table reads of all the episodes ahead of time. First, even before the other cast had come on, just in the backyard of Josh Singer and Laura Daves, in their backyard. And episode 7, the first time we read it, I think Jen cried through half of it. And I think it was good for her to get all of that out, because she is letting go of this, she is a woman who has been absolutely fine in her life without, a partner. She had been engaged and broke, she had her career, she had her friends, she had a full life. And then she met this person who was her person. It was her soulmate, and only got 2 years with him. And knows that she's offering him up, and making this enormous sacrifice for the good of his daughter. And so I think it's very painful. And so, having gone through that and sort of experienced all of the emotional pain ahead of time, Then when we were on set, it was about, okay, now you're in front of this guy who, you know, you cannot show your weakness. And how do you preserve, you know, that strength, even though what is going on inside is all of that pain and God, like, I don't want to do this. But yeah, that moment when she realizes that she has to give him up, you know, I think that she's holding on to hope throughout the scene that maybe he will find a way to also protect Owen and let him come back into the fold. And then that moment she realizes, and I think she's known all along, that it's probably going to come down to this, but it's just sort of held on to like a little tiny bit of hope. And it was just crushing to watch Jen go through that, you know, especially, you know, doing multiple takes of it. But she knew this character so well. And I think, I mean, she could speak for herself for why she connected so deeply to Hannah, but I think Hannah is a very different person than Jen Garner. And that was one of the wonderful challenges. Jen is such a naturally maternal person and Hannah is not. And so to sort of watch Jen fight against instincts in terms of who she really is and find that that really singular character was just such a joy.
Yeah, it's a joy for the viewers too. It's really great. Olivia Newman, unfortunately we have to wrap up here, but it was great chatting with you. Last thing you told me, all the episodes are on Apple TV Plus. Highly recommend checking them out. Thank you so much.
Thank you.